Well, hey fellas, Thorzax here. I've got a subject that I just want to go through and just caution you guys about. All right, if you got an M1 and you're going to go ahead and you're going to load for it, and say like for instance you don't have any brass, I'm going to tell you something. When you go online, make sure that you specify with whoever you're buying it from that you want once fired brass, and also that you want the brass to have the original primers still in the cases. Okay, you can get ripped off. Okay, I got a little ripped off. I don't. I can get a little ripped off. That's no big deal. I mean, I realize that being in business is about getting your product out there and selling it. And these guys are trying to do that with the minimum amount of resistance in doing so. They're not going to go ahead and they're not going to quality check each and every one of these rounds to make sure that it's, you know, quote unquote pristine. What I'm talking about here, I've been going through some brass. This came as once fired. I already annealed it. I already went ahead and chamfered and trimmed the cases, everything. And when I went to go and prime them, the primers just fell right in. Just it wasn't hardly any resistance at all. Just and you can't have that in an autoloader. Okay, you got to have a little bit of resistance. A little bit of resistance of pushing that primer in there. It's got to go like that. You got to get that primer in there. It has to have some seating quality and some a little bit of resistance when it goes in. So junk. Yeah. So anyway, I bought another bit of brass, and I want to show you what I'm talking about here. What you want to get is you want to get brass that still has the original military primers in there. And you can usually tell by the little red sealant. Okay, they put the sealant on the primer, and it's kind of a reddish color. If you see that, chances are this stuff is pretty good. I mean, this stuff is probably once fired. Thing is that you're getting range sweeping sometimes, and they're just sweeping brass into into a dustpan and dumping it in, and they separate it and whatever as best they can, and then they clean it or whatever they're going to do, and they package it up and they sell it. And a lot of times, like I said, you can get brass that has been reloaded, many times, over and over and over. So, I mean, you can get, what you thought you were buying as once fired brass is actually been shot like 5 times. So, yeah, see, there's a good example of what I was talking about, that reddish color on the primer. That's what you want. I also ended up with about 100 pieces of brass, 30-06 brass, and the primers had already been, removed. At least that's what I thought at first. But when I went ahead and I, checked them, the primers are way oversized. Okay, the primer pockets are way oversized. I mean, you can literally push, just drop the primer in there, dump it, back upside down, right side up, and it'll just drop right out the bottom. And what that's from is firing that .06 brass in like a 1919 machine gun that has a head spacing problem, or maybe there's something a little out of time with the way that the gun is operating and it's causing it to blow the primers out the back. That's the reason why they crimp them in, by the way. They crimp them in to help prevent that from happening in machine guns. But, so there you go. So yeah, I got ripped off. I probably got about 300 pieces of brass. At least 100 of it I know is completely unsalvageable. It's junk. The stuff that the primers will go in, but they're very easy to put in there. I would probably say that those are okay for a bolt gun, but I wouldn't fire them in an autoloader. Just the way it is. I just wouldn't, I wouldn't do that. The ones that I'm talking about that go in with ease, there is a little bit of resistance, but it isn't like this stuff. When you pop that primer out, and you can't get a new primer to go in until you take a Dillon Super Swager or a swaging or cut them on the Lyman machine. And like I said, you can get range scrap brass that's been swept up that some hilljack had his Super Swager, misadjusted, and he was just thinking, oh, it's all the same, and went ahead and swaged all those primer pockets way too big, and then you end up with it, and you're paying cash for that. That's money down the drain, dude. So make sure that you specify that you want once fired brass, you want the original military primers still in them. Another thing on brass too, I wanted to touch on, U.S. military asset brass, once fired brass is getting very scarce nowadays. I mean, it's like hen's teeth trying to find it. And when you do find it, it's almost like it's got a collector value or something. They're like, oh, well, it's U.S. military, it's the best. Oh, come on, man, give me a break. What I've been hearing is that the Greek stuff, if you can find the Greek stuff, it's good. It's good brass, and it's built to about the same tolerances that the U.S. military stuff is. So the next time I need brass, okay, now I've got about 1,500 pieces of brass, but if I was to go out and buy brass again, I'd just buy the Greek stuff. I wouldn't look for the U.S. military stuff. You don't want to use commercial brass in an M1, if you can avoid it. It's just not built heavy enough for an autoloader like that. It'll tear it up. But yeah, the Greek stuff's supposed to be pretty good. So that's the way I would go. If I was to go ahead and reload and wanted to get once fired military brass, I'd just buy that Greek stuff. You're good. Anyway, this is Thorzax. I'll get this uploaded, and just a little food for thought. Just thought I might put it out there, okay? And until next time, I hope you're enjoying your Sunday, and we'll be getting back to you now. I want to get out to the range, and I want to go ahead and fire that Criterion barrel. I want to show you how that tightened up, so that's the next thing. But I just really haven't had time after work. After I get off work, man, the only thing I got on my mind is the front door, and by the time I hit the front door, man, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. And when you're groggy and stuff like that, and you go out to the range, you're not doing your best shooting. So I'm trying to gear this around a day off. Okay, so that's it. I'll be catching you guys later.